4, or D, sorry, 1D, Virodi Vishoy Brahm, misconception of that which is antithetical. And that's a tricky one. Not understanding the things that will not, of the things that will harm your progress. You can get confused about that. You think that something's going to support your devotion, but it's actually harming it. So to have confusion about that. Misconception of that which is antithetical. And then, so that was all part of the first anartha, which is misconception of the truth. And the second one is asat trishna, desire for illusory ends. So A is bhukti, enjoyment, and that means worldly enjoyment in the form of family, wealth, luxury, and so on, or heavenly enjoyment in the form of a birth in a heavenly paradise after death. And then, so bhukti, enjoyment in a general sense. Then B, siddhi, the desire for supernatural powers, like the yogis get. And they're generally numbered as 8. Anima, becoming smaller than the smallest. Mahima, become greater than the greatest. Lagima, becoming lighter than the lightest. Prapti, acquiring whatever one desires. Prakamya, experiencing any enjoyable object, either in this world or the next. Ishitva, capacity to manipulate Maya's sub-potencies. This is like superhero kind of stuff. Capacity to manipulate Maya's sub-potencies. Vashitva, becoming unimpeded by the 3 modes of material nature. Some of this sounds pretty good. Yeah. See, I have the anartha in me. This sounds really cool. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he told this story how he experienced once one yogi who had this siddhi of prapti, being able to acquire whatever you want. You heard him tell that story, that he was on a train with Srila Saraswati Thakur, and Saraswati Thakur had one very favorite disciple, Paramananda Prabhu. He came as a very young boy, maybe 10 years old or something. So Saraswati Thakur kind of, was very, caring of him. And he would sleep in the same room with Saraswati Thakur. And so once they were traveling on a train somewhere, and Saraswati Thakur was there, and this young boy was there, Srila Sridhar Maharaj was there, and maybe there were a few others. And then, and you know how in India the trains will stop at stations along the way, and you have the chance to jump out and buy something at the station, right? People would do that. They do that. And so I think something like Saraswati Thakur asked the boy, do you want something to eat at the next, or maybe you remember, it was something like that, right? You want something to eat.
He expressed some desire to have something.
He wanted some halava. Yeah. That was what he wanted, yeah.
But they couldn't get it.
Well, I think Saraswati Thakur said it won't be available, or something like that, yeah. And then there was this man who was also seated there with them. And he had this yogic power, and so he said, I can get it for you. And so he literally put his hand out the window, and it just manifested in his hands, this bowl of halava. So then he gave it to the boy. So Sridhar Maharaj witnessed that. You see what I mean? It's pretty cool.
But we don't have that.
That would be a big distraction.
That would be a major but nowadays we have Amazon Prime.
Yeah, it's almost like that.
I know. It's practically like that. The modern culture, modern technology actually can reproduce a lot of these things. yeah, flying,
grasping thoughts,
yeah,
lifting heavy things.
yeah. There was one talk or some comment of Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada where he was joking like that. Like, these yogis, they go to so much trouble to try to get these powers. But nowadays, you can do everything, for... Like, he was joking about one yogi who could walk on water. He must have had this lagima, you can become very light. So he could walk on water, and Srila Prabhupada was like, if we pay like 2 paisa to the boatman, we can cross over. Like, what's the big deal?
Yeah, I think there was this story with Buddha when he was trying to cross the river, and some yogi laughed about him, saying, "You're so wise, you can't even walk across the water. Look." He walked around, wow, cool. How long it took you to learn this? It's like, all life. You see, for you it took your life. I'll just wait two weeks around.
That was with Lord Buddha.
I think so, yeah.
Uh-huh. That's funny.
Like the story of wisdom, saying like there's no point to invest
Yeah.
so much energy in something pretty much insignificant.
Yeah.
You just go by what.
Yeah, the practical thinking. Yeah.
Common sense.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you acquire that, what comes next? You're not going to walk around the water when no one sees it, right? The next thing is to show it to everyone. So it's like...
We have Facebook for that.
Yeah.
Right.
And selfies.
So too
She's on Instagram now.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So that's also.
But I think that's on the very high stages of devotional practice when you can accidentally get some of those side effects.
Oh, for the devotees, this is nothing, They can, for like the pure Vaishnavas, they can do it if they want, but they don't do it because that would be a major distraction for other people, If they need to, if there's some service necessity.
I heard somebody Govinda Maharaj said that he knew that Guru Maharaj, he could leave his body. This is another thing. As a lecture, Bharata Maharaj was saying that this is a very cool skill, to be able to leave your body when you want. Not like when the time comes, but like when you choose to leave your vehicle.
Yes.
It's also one of those things you can get.
Yes. Yeah. Bhishma Dev, he had that. He was able to choose. Okay, so then, so becoming unimpeded by the 3 modes of material nature. And then the last of these 8, kama vasayita, the ability to acquire anything from anywhere to the highest possible limits. So, different desires for illusory ends, enjoyment, supernatural powers, and then the 3rd is mukti, the desire for liberation from birth and death. That is also a type of anartha. And so that was, so first anartha, misconception of the truth; second anartha, desire for illusory ends; third anartha is aparad, offenses. And then there are different types of offenses listed here. Nam aparad, offenses against the holy name; seva aparad, offenses made during service and worship; Vaishnava aparad, which is of course the most serious, offenses against Vaishnavas; 4 Dham aparad, offenses against the holy Dham. And then, and this is an interesting one that we don't normally think about, Jiva aparad. Jiva aparad, this is also on the list. Offenses against other souls.
Wow.
Interesting.
Like as in...
Any jiva soul, Of course, it's not like a serious spiritual offense, but it's an anartha, It's something that will, you're like creating karma for yourself when you're doing that. If you're creating disturbance in the environment, you're disturbing other souls, you're bringing you're entangling yourself in the material energy, you're incurring more karma for yourself. And
I think I've heard that Jiva Parad would be to hurt Jiva's like a potential to trust or believe in something. If you see like a Christian who's like, he's so faithful, and then you just smash it. And
Yeah.
That's like, so you should like destroy the object of faith rather than the faith itself. So it's a very fine point. Like,
I mean, if somebody has faith in something, just leave them alone, you know?
but then at the same time, there's this
Unless they're actually open and willing. I mean, this is like a dangerous thing to do, you know, if you break someone's faith in one thing without being able to move them on to a higher faith, then that's a terrible thing to do. You've just destroyed them, you know. I mean, like we saw with Srila Gurudev, like if somebody had some particular faith, he would celebrate that and leave them alone, you know, let them be.
Because naturally this faith will elevate them further.
Exactly, if they're sincere.
The inner
Yeah.
necessity will appear, which will drive them further.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's very nice also to take it, Jiva Parada is just really offense to any human beings. It's
Yeah.
so nice to think like that, like not just particular.
Not just human beings, but look, I'll tell you this story. This will like blow our minds tonight. Which is, you know, like our main duty, for our minds need to, our main occupation, to have our minds blown. Like, if we're like really aspiring to be members of Shri Chaitanya Saraswati, our minds need to be blown at least once a day, you know.
Yeah.
So this is something that blew my mind, is that, so it's mango season in Calcutta, you know, and you know mango season. You know, there's so many wonderful mangoes around, but the problem with mango season is it only lasts so long. So
There's a lot of them,
all year
not
round.
for too long.
yeah, it's only like maybe 2 months or something like that. So one of Srila Gurudev's personal servitors had the bright. They told me this story. I wasn't there in the room, but they told me this story that they had the bright idea. Why don't we freeze some of the mangoes? And then, you know, 6 months down the line, when we really need a mango, we can just take one out the freezer, you know. And so they mentioned that to Srila Gurudev. Oh, maybe we can freeze some of the mangoes. And Gurudev said that will be an offense to the mango.
Wow.
That was what he said. That will be offensive to the mango.
I've never heard of such a thing.
So that's what I'm saying. Isn't your mind blown? Like, that's where Gurudev's living. Like, he's seeing consciousness everywhere. All these are really subtle, fine things. Like, so like, you know, like, does that mean it's okay? Like, what if you
Froze peas. Like canning things.
yeah, I mean, like,
all these preserving.
yeah. I mean, I was thinking like if you, maybe it would be better. Because, like, we had this discussion about, like, juicing. Like, I actually feel terrible when I juice. Because it feels so violent to me. You're in this very, like, extreme way. Like, crushing. And this, like... It's not like you're gently chopping them.
Sorry.
You're like... It's, like, very violent, you know?
Or even cutting something is violent.
So I feel like, you know, like okay, maybe if you like blended up the mango first, so it's a puree, and then you froze it, maybe that's a little different. You just like stick the whole mango in the freezer. It does seem a bit, I don't know, a bit weird, you know. So I mean, I don't know. I can't. That's all I know. What Gurudev said, you know, like how will that play out in every little. And like, can you freeze tomato sauce? You know, like, you know, we could get really extreme with this.
The jiva in the right stage of ripening is the perfect stage to offer it to the Lord. And then you say, oh.
Well, it's like also that, now you've reminded me, Srila Sridhar Maharaj wouldn't eat sprouts. He didn't, right? We've all heard of that.
Because of what?
Because they haven't had a chance to grow properly yet. They're like babies, you know. So like you know, people like baby spinach. Like I freak out like when I see in the shop that packet. It does sound like really horrible. Baby spinach, you know. I would eat baby spinach.
Baby corn.
It reinforces some feelings that I've already experienced sometimes.
Yeah, you're like a very conscious, sensitive person.
However, I've adjusted myself in many ways because of this life where people have to eat, I have to eat, and I at one point I feel very, very silly saying this, but I actually made friends with and tried to do prana energy where you don't eat or drink, you just live on prana. And I believe it's possible. I think it is a CD, but I couldn't acquire it somehow. It just wasn't my time or whatever it was. But I really wanted to do that because I felt like I didn't like being dependent on this industry of food, which is, I think, very, I don't know, just not nice.
Cool.
It's very cruel. Just even farming is cruel. Just there's so much involved in it. It's hurting things, other beings, and so.
Being part of this world is cruel.
Yeah,
Just
just
to
to
be part of
breathe,
this-
you know.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
We can't actually avoid it.
But I felt like if I could acquire this power somehow, then I would be a lot more detached from the cruelty of this world. I hadn't at that point ever heard of offerings and dedication of one's life in a way that
Prasadam.
Prasadam.
This is the only solution.
That's what really drew me and shifted me towards that, and not feeling so terrible about my eating and my life, my need for living, was because I could do it in a way that dedicated myself to things. But that's why it seems so important to just to really listen to our gurus. Like I really like that you're talking about baby spinach and sprouts, all those things that are considered healthy for us.
Yeah, their conception is completely different.
And
you
yet,
know.
it's so true that. But I don't know. I'm still so lost when it comes to these things because I've had to live in a certain way, and so I've seen myself like wanting a certain way of living, but couldn't acquire that, and then having to live a certain way, and so there's this imbalance in me. I feel like I don't know what is right and what is wrong. Still, I can hear things and it's nice. It's reminding me, but it's still confusing though, because where do I draw the line? I can't draw the line myself.
Well, go slow, like hearing, our conception will develop in a gradual way. So
new experiences are pushing out previous ones, and new tastes, new ideas, new desires, new thoughts. So it's like slowly one is pushing it out another. And something what might be like a big topic of the day, what I'm gonna do about it, like in like a year time, it's like not even there. It's like slow moves.
I see. I guess I'm a little impatient. Just a little.
that's cool too. You have that lolium, you have that hunger. But it has to your lolium has to be tempered by some patience also.
Yeah. It's hard for me though. But I like sitting here listening to everybody, and it helps.
Sometimes you have to make a choice, like of doing something or not doing something. But then later, by making the right choice constantly, it kind of stops being a choice, but it becomes your nature. So it's like certain things which I have to put my thoughts in. I have to okay, today I won't smoke, it's a Kaddishi.
I'll smoke the day after Ekadashi.
Yeah, like later to the higher stages of development, it won't be a topic, it won't be a consideration.
Yeah.
But then, if you try to trace when it stopped being, you won't be able to, because it's like very gradually.
It's so funny.
I mean, it's a harsh example, but just.
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea that as time goes by and, in the midst of service life and hearing, then we're developing a sense, our own sense, and it will become like an instinct within us, actually. Once that inner, we already have it, actually, it's just obscured,
Like the mother forces children to brush teeth, brush teeth in the morning, but then after some time, when you do it, and then you actually start liking it, and then you use it a couple of times a day because it's so nice.
Okay, that is not a good example. I don't accept that example. I've been brushing my teeth for probably 30 years now, and it's still like I have to force myself. Yeah, and some days I just don't, to be honest. And at a maximum once a day, maximum.
I love it. It's just but I remember when I was in school, my mother used to force me to remind me about that. And I was like, oh, geez, give me a break.
We need another example. We need. You're very original tonight, Ramananda. Okay, well, we've had some lively discussions tonight. Would you like to sing, Manu Mohini? Jai Shri Gurudev. We should just finish this.
Okay, let's finish.
So aparad was the third type of anartha. And then the fourth, this is the last one, and this is the hardest one. Hridaya Dorbalya. It means weakness of the heart. So this isn't something that you can consciously avoid. It's just like to not have enthusiasm. So, and then there's 4 types here. Tucha Ashakti, attachment to things unrelated to Krishna and his service. B. Kutinati, duplicity. C. Matsarja, envy, coveting the good fortune of others. And D. Pratishtasha, desire for name and fame.
What was the second one? Duplicity.
Duplicity.
What is it?
Well, this word kutinati, it's a tricky one. It's not just like duplicity, but there's more of a complex understanding of the word. I heard from Tyagi Maharaj of one example that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave, which indicated getting too stuck on superficial considerations and missing the point. So the example, I'll tell you the example that Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave was, which maybe doesn't resonate so much with Western audiences, because we don't have the same sensitivity to cleanliness. But that, okay, so there's some outside toilet area, and then there's a pond right next to it. And so the question is, the debate is, when you bathe in that pond and you come out, are you actually clean? Because there's this toilet area right next door, and so, there's particles of that coming over.
Same here. toilet tracks in the shower.
I mean, yeah, I mean, we're mlechas, so.
It's a big deal.
Gurudev, he allowed it, basically. I mean, he made the ensuite bathroom situation, in the rooms for the Westerners in Navadip. So like to debate on that point, like he gave that as an example of kuti nati, like are you actually clean? Which I see is just like a tendency to get too caught up with, superficial stuff.
It's like sometimes someone is showing some example on the board, and they take a chalk and they like indicate something on the board. Then the person is more focusing on the board rather than on the chalk or what is actually written on the top of the board.
Yeah.
So it's the same example, that there is some situation or some circumstance, and then the person is focusing more on the circumstances rather than on the point, what is.
Yeah. Or like there's that expression, let us follow the spirit of the law and not the letter of the law.
Yeah.
We see that, Or people get stuck on like different points and not seeing how, like suppose, I mean, this is just, a situation which we've been dealing with, persons who get stuck on supposedly contradictory points and not being able to harmonize the two but with like a broader understanding of what is the essential nature of things. So, yeah. But I mean, duplicity, it could also, I would think it could also mean, like making some show of one's devotion and internally, something like, and that's a danger, like, we all want everyone to like us and think we're serious practitioners, So like to maybe be motivated by that, or to like deliberately put on a show like you're doing such and such, and to get too caught up with, like there was that show, that British show we used to watch when I was a kid. We would watch it here, Keeping Up Appearances. It's quite a British thing, actually, isn't it? Like keeping up appearances, like keeping up with the neighbors. Like. You have to like fit in, and so so that can happen in our devotional life, There's like social expectation, and then we're trying to adhere to that, and then our spiritual practice becomes about that rather than actually, doing it,
So always slowly merging to that side, until you spot it and like.
Yeah.
Always like.
Yeah.
Slowly merging.
Yeah. I mean, it's tricky because some degree of that can be helpful, like you're in the temple. That's one thing that's helpful about temple life is, you're being reminded all the time, oh, I want to do that too, and I want them to think, well, like to some degree that's good. I want this superior Vaishnava to like me, so I'm going to, to follow them, like to some degree it's good, but that's like, like more of an immature stage, and it should become something deeper. And it shouldn't be based on that, There's an innocent expression of it, and then there's a more, ugly expression of it. Gurudev, he gave this example, which is a very like Indian example, but drinking water. Going underwater and drinking water on a fast day. This is a very Indian example, but like it's a day when you're meant to be fasting. It's not. We don't even do a full water fast, or I don't. So, yeah. But if you're following a like no water fast, and you're like telling everyone, oh yeah, I'm doing a total water fast, and then you're like going to the river to bathe, and then underwater you're drinking.
Oh, you dive underneath the water, like as if you wash and drink.
Yeah, So like an example that we could maybe identify with more is like, you know, like your doctor said you're not supposed to eat such and such. And so you pretend to your friends and family that you're following that, but then secretly you're eating all the things you're not supposed to eat, you know, but you're actually just harming yourself. You know, okay, you're making a public show of this, but you're actually just harming your own self, you know. So, like that, you know. or like Shuddhashava, he joked, you know, like someone knocks on your door and you pick up your japa and you run to the door like, are you sure? Oh yeah, I'm shining my japa. I'm not like hanging out, like, you know, watching movies, you know, like, I'm totally shining my japa.
Pushing the account in the middle. Some organizations, they look at each other's job.
How many rounds? Oh, look at me. Look how many. Hey, you know. It can become very silly. No.
I know people who deliberately do the opposite, do things to
Right.
make people
That's the highest level of
I like
Vaishnavism.
that, yeah.
hate them.
Yes, exactly. You know who did that? You know that story? Vamsidas Babaji Maharaj, right? You know, he lived in Navadvip, right? And when he was going to leave his body, he left Navadvip. So nobody would say, oh, he died in the Dham. And then because he had cities, but he didn't use his cities to lord it over people or nature. He used his cities to manifest all these horrible sores on his body. Jesus was nailed to the cross, and then he was being taken to be crucified or something. And then there was this big crowd gathered on either side of him. And Judas was in the crowd. And when Jesus came across him, he threw him this glance of extreme love and mercy. And not only that, but asking him for forgiveness. Because Judas saw that look and he went mad and he went running. And he had this like sack of coins that he'd been given. And he like threw it away and he went mad, like running. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he gave that explanation because Jesus looked at him like not accusing him, but actually saying, please forgive me. Like I'm actually using you. You know, that by your terrible deed, you're making my name brighter. And your name will go down for all of history as being, you know, the most evil person who ever lived, you know. And that's actually like a great sacrifice. So you please forgive me, you know.
You don't just sacrifice your life, but you sacrifice your name. Because
forever.
Every person Judas
it's a bad word.
Which means that
The betrayer.
But what if he didn't betray Jesus, but Jesus told him, you will betray me? So that was his
Yeah, like there's the idea that he was the most intimate servitor, actually.
Yes.
And he actually was performing this great service. Yeah, like, and you know, so like, are we ready for that? You know, Srila Sridhar Maharaj also mentions that in Loving Surge, that he says, we may fail at any time. It may be our master's will. Like, are we ready, like, to play the bad guy, basically? To be used as the guy that everyone's going to hate? Like, do we have that level of surrender? Wow, you know. Again, like light years away from that, you know.
Something to aspire towards, so great.
To have that level of surrender.
To aspire towards.
And dedication that continued throughout that. There is that sincere and intense relationship with Guru throughout it.
Of course, that's the only thing that could sustain it. Of course, yeah.
That was.
I mean, of course.
To have such a loving connection.
Yeah, I mean, of course, they must be getting joy from that. You know, they're getting joy from doing that because it's an authentic thing. You know.
It's like this, your relationship with your guru makes all
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like keep your cool. No, how this is phrase?
Keep going,
Don't-
keep going.
Don't lose your cool. Like people are throughout life, they try to not lose their cool, try to like be someone and maintain that, but maybe at some point it becomes relevant in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the level of maturity that we have to reach. To not be so concerned, with, what the perception is, or, but to have that level of, inner cultivation that we're strong enough to continue regardless.
Because you have to like stop being a politician. Like there's a term political death. The person
Nice.
did something and then
Right.
he just after this
Right.
he's not gonna,
There's no more
it's a
popularity.
political death. But
Right.
if you're not
I like that.
If you're not a politician anymore,
Right.
doesn't matter.
Right.
Everyone
Right.
has to kill that little politician within
Political death. What did you say?
themselves. Everyone has to kill that little politician within themselves.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that. Yeah, and it's tough because the more, if somebody has that type of service that gives them some prominence, then the more prominence you get, then the harder it is to fall, So you really have to become free of that, Otherwise, there's going to be something that trips you up at one point, and there will be a political death. And if you're not strong enough to face it, then there's one quote, I think it's Balzac, the French writer, I really like, to live in the presence of great truths and eternal laws, to be led by high ideals. Something like that. That is what keeps a man calm when the world praises him, or unspoiled when the world praises him, and calm when the world ignores him. Something like that, Like to live in consciousness of eternity and superior truth. That is what will help one to overcome all these flickering things, The popularity. It gets so, like if we're talking about politics, they do like these polls, like popularity polls. It's so silly. Like, last month compared to this month, compared to last year. It gets really silly, But that's kind of like an interesting expression of what are the human tendencies within us. Like, how am I doing now? Like, how's my popularity level right now? Man. Well, we better stop. It's getting late. Jai Shri Ram. So nice to talk with all of you, authentic practitioners.
Sometimes those who died, they're not concerned about these things anymore. Like,
What did you say?
Those who are dead, in a sense, dead for this world, they're not concerned about these things anymore. Say, we died to live. We died for this. It's
Die
not
to
anymore-
live. Beautiful.
It's not anymore a concern, because like,
Beautiful. Very nice.